Smell those eggs and bacon. It's time for Breakfast Talk, a podcast covering a range of entrepreneurial and independent comics creation topics first thing in the morning. Of course, please like and share if you're enjoying our special seasoning. And be sure to subscribe to join us every Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Let's talk.
Here we are, gentlemen.
Here we are.
Episode 13.
All right. Welcome to episode 13 of
Mm-hmm.
Age. Age of Indie. That's this episode. We're basically talking about are people wanting indie content because of all the reboots and rehashes. So this could be like a 3-hour conversation, but it won't be.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the age of indie?
Yes, the age of indie. Because it has come.
It has begun.
Gross.
See, no, the title of this episode should have been The Reckoning.
The Reckoning.
Indie Reckoning.
And then the screen shakes, but I don't know how to do that, so.
No, wait,
I could probably do. Look,
I can just.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my lord!
Greg's cuts out. He breaks his.
Damn it!
What do you do this?
Just spike it on the ground. It's like, dude, you went too far, man. We were just shaking it. Anyway, okay, all right, no more tangents. Let's not tangent. We're supposed to keep this short. That was the whole point of this
No, Greg.
breakfast talk.
How about birthday today? I meant 3 weeks ago.
Yes, we have not pre-recorded any of these episodes.
I'm not showing you my shirt.
This isn't the same.
I just wear the same shirt every
This isn't the
Sunday.
same drink.
This is my Sunday shirt. This is my Sunday shirt, everyone.
Yeah. He wears that every Sunday. Don't you remember the last podcast?
Every Sunday.
Excuse me.
Sunday.
Shirt.
Sunday.
Sunday. I don't even know who,
Sunday.
that was like a weird De Niro impression. I don't know what that was. I don't know.
Which-
I'm
which-
sorry. Mine, not your guys'. Your guys' was, I don't know. I guess some orange dude. I don't know.
Mr. Tito?
Yeah. Professor Cheeto. To you.
That's Dr. Tito.
Dr. Professor
Dr.
BAMA.
Speaking of the color orange,
CFP.
Country Music Award star. Better.
CMA.
speaking of the color orange, that's one of the colors in our logo for Breakfast Talk, and we actually have a mug that has that. So you should go check that out. Look at that segue. Yeah, that's right.
Gregory.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this guy.
Look at this guy over here.
Yeah, so this episode
Has gotten off the rails.
is about
Before it even started.
indie and why we're very weird.
Yeah.
All of us.
This is why people want our comics. This is why.
Exactly. It's just
Yeah.
that entertaining.
Yeah.
Not my voice. My voice sounds like
But it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about like indie stuff in general, and like typically like the reason why they're called indie films isn't just because they're independently made. Typically, a lot of those indie films are actually terrible, and there's a reason for that, and it's because they're trying to be different. And there's a reason I wanted to say that was that there's nothing wrong with being independently published, independently created, all of that. As long as you're still following certain rules, like there's that whole, Picasso thing, you need to know the rules so that you know what you can break. And that's kind of the thing, is that I think the reason why the age of indie is getting bigger is that because more people are entering it, including big name like Marvel and DC writers and artists, is that being independently published is now like the punk rock kind of thing for that. And it's growing in size large enough that people are now putting their eyes towards it. Like in our last episode, I was talking about, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, I was talking about how, Impact Theory, right? They made a comic with Steve Aoki. They're taking, the guy who started this is a co-founder of like a food manufacturing plant. And he partnered with one of the largest DJs in the world and made a comic book. You know what I mean? So like, it's one of those things where like they're technically an indie company, right? Like Image, I don't consider them an indie company anymore, but they still consider themselves an indie company, and it's just because they're not the two big ones. But I think that a lot of the smaller comics, as long as they, follow certain, paths that are clearly laid out, that are meant to be in stories because we enjoy them for that reason, but you put your own spin on it, your own voice and all that. Like, people love to hear that stuff. And because of social media now, like, I told this to an artist friend the other day. It's like, there's 7 billion people on Earth. There are at least 70,000 people on Earth that can do exactly what you can do and better. So why are they going to buy your stuff over any of their stuff? And my big thing is you. It's the connection to you as the creator, and understanding that the reason why the age of indie is getting big is that now we can look into your lives through social media. Like, I've skipped days where I don't post my breakfast and had people that I've never met before ask me if I was okay. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's crazy. But that's the world we're living in now. And that, I think that right there is like the big reason indie comics are going to make a huge surge, because it's just like how Chance the Rapper made it big, or Macklemore produced, becoming his own little record label as opposed to getting signed. Like, that's, people love hearing that backstory, that whole document versus create that Gary Vee talks about, sharing the back life of your story. Like, 8 other people probably have a story just like yours. Why are you different?
And even if they don't have a story that you have, maybe they wanted that story. Maybe the approach is inspiration to other people, like, because I am closer, like the narrative from a big two comic company is not the same narrative that you have. You have a narrative of like the underdog, right? And people really do gravitate towards that kind of story. So I think you have more of a foundation of inspiration and being a little more humble and closer to the average person, I guess. But yeah, I agree. I think that it's more about the connectivity. It's more about the availability and the accessibility of somebody to, I mean, somebody met me on the street now, as opposed to like in 12 years, 10 years, if I've made a name for myself as an artist, is going to be 2 different levels of accessibility there. So I think that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say too, like, and like you were saying about the story, like the whole purpose of IT comics or impact theory in general, they want to be like Disney, but they want to show you how to break out of the matrix instead of a love story, right? Mm-hmm. So Disney has, they follow the hero's journey. So does this, right? Like, everything follows this typical storyline. They put their own spin on it, their own theme on it, their own niche on it. And then there's the larger narrative. And that's the thing that you can decide as a creator. And that's what'll make you unique. But sure, typically that's based on you. Like, the reason his is, break out of the matrix is literally the movie The Matrix inspired him to like open up his mind to the possibility of doing more and greater things. Sure. So if there's some narrative you're trying to project out there and you're putting it in your artwork, whether it's music, whether it's comic books, whether it's film, as long as you're following the general like storytelling guidelines, you can put whatever you want out there and then make it your thing. And because it's you, that's why people want it.
So do you think it has anything to do with like the narrative that has been created by the big two, like the rehashing of concepts? Because it seems like to you it's not even a factor. Like, and I think that that's correct. I think it is more
just
about
like Disney's about the love story, Marvel and DC, they kind of got, I don't know how to define it, but like we all know what it is. Like, they got their niche.
They got their like dark, broody type of stuff.
Like you kind of know what they are. And so if you're anything outside of that, you've now got another perspective. There's the love stories of Disney, now like Impact Theory, they're doing like the breaking out of the Matrix. Marvel kind of has like this uplift and light. DC kind of has this dark. Image is kind of somewhere in that dark range as well with a lot of their work. But like, that's kind of the whole point, is you figure out whatever your overall major narrative is, and that's what you build in there. But yeah, I think the reason, it's not that Marvel and DC haven't opened the opportunity because the rehashing of their stories. It's just like Disney. Disney can still sell the same exact story in a different package. Mm-hmm. We all watched Toy Story, 3 when it came out. Like it's that kind of thing. I don't know about Toy Story 4. I still haven't seen that one yet. But like the point is that it's the same story over and over again, and people are still willing to buy it. And not only that, new generations are going to buy it as well as they get older, and then older generations buy it out of nostalgia. So it's not like you're going to lose an audience there. But yes, the fact that more people have access to the knowledge to learn how to draw comics, right? With like Udemy and like, you know, books from other big time artists from back in the day, it's much more accessible to learn how to do it. So now it's just sharing your narrative versus their narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I forgot.
Well, can I cut you off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that while it is in the industry or within creative types, anybody who's in the comic interest, because I don't want to say it's all creators, or I don't want to say it's all fans, or you know what I mean. It's anybody who's really who's bought into the creative process or the buying process or the viewing process of comics itself. I think it is annoying to have things rehashed over and over, and it kind of gets, maybe not annoying, but it gets a little dry. And even though I love Batman, that doesn't mean I want to see him continually get rehashed over and over and over and recycled and all this kind of stuff, because every time that happens, there's a little bit of that I dislike. You know what I mean? So now it's like creating this, well, all these different Batman stories had like one thing that was really cool, but like 12 things that were really bad about them. And it's like, it's kind of like, I want to leave Batman behind. I want to see Nightwing take over
the mantle. Beyond Batman?
Exactly. Which was funny because that is one of my favorite series of Batman, because it takes it's different
new take on the old thing.
Exactly.
That's what I meant too by like, there's a difference between trying to be indie and like super like weird, like intentionally not following storylines. Like even Batman Beyond still follows the general idea of Batman. It kept that, but it told it in a new way. It gave it a new light. And like that's why people love that show so much, is because you have the familiarity with novelty. And novelty is your own take. Familiarity is the thing that needs to be in there, or people just won't like it. Like nobody buys something that's brand new.
Right.
Like what was it? Sega Dreamcast was the first game console that had online gameplay, and 99% of its users didn't even know that.
Yeah, I think it's like that. It's that whole thing where people are like, "Oh, this person was so ahead of their time," and it was like, it's not necessarily that they were ahead of their time. They were just doing something that nobody gravitated towards, and then eventually, and then eventually it caught on. They're like, this was the best the whole time. Like, what were we doing this entire time? Like, so it's kind of, people catch up to good ideas. It's not really like they were ahead of their time. It was just
virtual reality. Like they had virtual reality back with NES.
Yeah, exactly.
There are Super Nintendo. It's called like Red. Yeah, I forgot the name of it. It was all in red though. Like it
Virtual
was
Boy.
Huh?
There was a thing called Virtual Boy.
There you go.
But it was like a Game Boy cartridge that you put in.
No, not that. No, before that. Okay. About Nintendo, like Nintendo Entertainment System, NES. Back then they had virtual reality.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's been around forever, but now it's slightly catching on, but it still doesn't have enough yet. Like once it hits that point where it's been around long enough, something else pulls us into it. Like they're adding it on roller coasters. They're adding it in movie theaters, right? Like
you can make it. Like you can make VR like games Pictures in Unity.
Yeah, exactly. So like once it gets a mainstream enough, eventually there'll be that one thing that's super familiar, but it adds VR, and everyone will suddenly go, "Why weren't we doing this forever?" Yeah, exactly. Like it's gonna come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or, nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I think you're absolutely right with, in terms of indies having more visibility. It's not necessarily because of anything that the big two are doing or not doing. I think it's just a change in the paradigm a little bit. Like we're seeing the importance of comics go from having these really, I guess, like, it's not a niche. It's not anything that can be defined in that way. It's more or less like the overall look and feel of Marvel and DC comics just always seems to have this professionalism to it. And now people are seeing that you can still find that same level storytelling and professionalism in the artwork and all that kind of stuff, design in indie comic books. So I think it's just more or less, again, the visibility has grown. So people are realizing these stories have been great this entire time. And like, so it's kind of just a surge of people's awareness becoming a little higher because social media and all that kind of stuff. But I think it has less to do with what the big two are doing, even though it can be very annoying and like you just want to see some new stuff. But
we're also the creators though. We're the ones
Yeah.
making the indie. That's why they're still like, it's one of those things where like people are like, oh, it's so mainstream. It's like, it's mainstream because it's popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it is still a big deal. It's just that the people that do want something different, there needs to be something available. Now there's so many
That's the
people doing
opportunity.
it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the opportunity.
so now there's a ton of opportunity, but there's a lot of people going after it. So you have to get really good. You have to build a very valuable skill. Your artwork needs to be on point. Your story
The
telling needs
standards.
to be on point. Yeah.
The
You need-
standards are raising for all indies in the marketplace.
And that's the thing, is like, because there's 8-year-olds that can play Mozart. You know what I mean? Like there's people that are really young, that are learning really young how to do amazing things. So the thing that will make you unique is you. Like, that's why, like, once you, like, there's the minimum. You have to tell a story. You can't just nonsense into a paper. It needs to be a certain level. But then after that, if they're going to buy your stuff, it's because of you. They want to care about you and your story.
And also, I think what we need to focus on as indies too is the filtration aspect of our ideas. And what I mean by that is the editing process. The editing process is the filtration. For every single thing that we're doing, we have to and I recommend that you get a secondary editor who has nothing to do with you or your writing, or you don't even know this person. Like you base them solely on their credentials and their credibility, and you give them your work and you let them pick it apart and tell you that you suck, because
or they're a blunt
you need
asshole.
That's fine too. But I think that, yeah, they can't be close to your work, I guess is what I meant by that. They have to be from a more a further vantage point and they still have the skill level to say your grammar's bad here, or the storytelling should be a little better or different here. And for your artwork too, like, don't show it to your friends and think that they're going to give you really high quality editing advice, because even if they're in the industry, they're probably just going to say like, oh, that's cool, like I like what you're doing. And that's not necessarily the vantage point of everybody else that's seeing your work. So
yeah. And
that's
also,
probably
even aside from like giving it off to another editor outside, just making sure that you yourself are doing your due diligence. Like, I know that Greg just gets excited when he sees artwork that he thought about, you know what I mean? Like, so like our latest comic that we're having drawn right now, the Seer Chronicles issue 2, the first set of pages we got, Greg was like, oh my God, it's so amazing. I'm like, yes, it's very good, but why is his face like that? That's not, like, he's not supposed to be shocked right here, right?
yeah,
Or
the finer details of it.
Yeah, and like those little details, like, you need to make sure that you have a system that you work with between, if you're the writer and you're working with an artist, like, you need a system where there's checks and balances back and forth, where you're like, hey, is it good? All right, okay, is it good? All right. And like, you want to make sure you review everything very critically. Like, the way that I tell Greg to look at this stuff is like, pretend it sucks. And
Right.
now let's look for what is good and figure out what actually does suck and needs to be fixed. Like, maybe there is that one little thing that if you were looking at it like in a what is it, the rose colored glasses, where you're like, oh my God, the thing that was in my head is now on paper. It's amazing. Like, you're never going to see the thing that's like so glaringly obvious to a reader. Like,
Right.
there was our first edition of our first issue. There's a guy in there, in one scene is wearing glasses, but he's not wearing them in any other scene, and I never noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother was like immediately like, who the hell is this guy? I'm like, it's so obvious, it's this guy. And he goes, why is he wearing glasses? And I'm like, it's a great question. Like, so yeah, you definitely have to be critical of yourself, but that's why you want a second body, is like, even after which you should be doing it very thoroughly yourself as well. Yeah, there's certain things you're just not going to see because you're blinded by all the other stuff you know.
Yeah, and I guess what my point was, like, with the filtration, when you're an indie, it's actually really important that you just don't put out things for these just because you're putting them out. Like, like, if you want your company to be taken seriously, you can't just make a comic that, like you said, just is full of nonsense or full of like inaccuracies, things like that,
Yeah.
and expect a fandom to be a really strong fandom to continue to build. Like you really do, if you want to take yourself seriously, have to go through the same processes that bigger companies do go put themselves through, because that's what your audience is looking up towards, those kinds of standards. And if you don't meet at least the basics of those standards, there's not going to be a huge fan base that follow you. There might be a small fan base that just really enjoys what you're doing. They don't care about those things. But if you're looking to be substantial, then you have to kind of you have to look up to different standards of your work and kind of apply those critical aspects to every process, like you were saying, so that those checks and balances have to be in place.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I was kind of saying before, like I don't consider Image indie anymore, really, but like they're also a great example of to see that though. Like they have a lot of filtration as they go through that. You can see over the years of their stuff improving, and that's because of the fact that they're not being indie by being hip. They're being indie because they're independent, and that's it. They're not trying to just stand out for the sake of standing out. There's, they're standing out to draw attention, and then they're giving you a great story.
Yeah.
Breakfast time.
Yeah.
We've got mugs.
We
We
do.
have
We do have
description below.
mugs. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
mugs. There's
Yeah.
merchandise.
Greg's gonna put it in the description
Obviously.
below.
Also,
Like, share, and subscribe.
definitely do that.
We haven't said that in any of the other ones, so I just figured I'd throw that in. Leave a comment below. Tell us how much you like our mugs after buying one to support
Don't
us.
forget to click subscribe.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
them
if you have any comments about this, just extremely controversial subject, too, throw it in the comments.
Yeah, like how amazing our mugs are.
Yeah. I mean,
What is your favorite hot beverage? Put that in the comments.
What's your favorite breakfast talk mug?
Right,
We only
exactly.
we only have one.
Which we understand the art is very risque, but that's just how we live. We just do it. We just work that way.
Breakfast talk. Kickstarter.
The Kickstarter will be over after this.
Will it?
The Kickstarter ends
October
on
31st.
Halloween.
But when's this one coming out?
This is coming out Monday of that week.
Oh, so we just finished.
And Halloween is
So
the
I
last
can't believe
day.
we got so much money.
Yeah,
A number.
We finished strong.
We
and it
finished
was a
really
huge-
strong with this amount.
Well,
Exactly.
we're still going up until Halloween.
No, Greg,
but-
with this amount. Put it right here.
Okay.
See it?
Yeah.
I'm 100% accurate because it's right here.
But yeah, so we're gonna have a live stream
I'm
on.
just gonna be grabbing the air. So voluptuous.
Oh, yeah.
It looks pillowy and soft.
We're gonna have a live stream on Facebook for the final hours, like counting down our Kickstarter before it ends. It literally ends 11:59
On Halloween.
p.m. Yes, I did that on purpose.
I'm gonna eat so much candy.
I'm gonna just eat Kit Kat
All of the
bars. What's your favorite candy bar? Comment
Leave it in
that.
the comment below.
Yeah.
Comment that.
Maybe if you back the Kickstarter and you leave a comment,
We will
I'll
send you a candy bar.
Candy.
We'll send you. I don't know.
Ah.
I'm pretty selfish with my candy, and then these male people, you don't know what they're doing with that candy, bro.
Yeah,
Eating
I was
it?
just told that I got a package from Vistaprint, and she said part of the box is open, and I was like, "Is it destroyed?" And she's like, "No, it just looks like the top is open." I was like,
Is there
"Okay,
candy
Alright.
inside?
is there
Alright.
candy
Yeah,
inside?"
Yeah, exactly. Is there anthrax candy? That's my
Well,
favorite
that's my
flavor.
favorite candy.
Exactly.
I just called them Smarties, but
I would said like candy or something, but it would probably be bad by the time it gets to them.
no, Greg. You use Postmates and you have them delivered to your front.
Deliver the
Just
candy.
one box of Skittles. Why Skittles? Because you're the only one that left a comment. I'm talking
Yeah.
about you, Phil.
If you leave a comment, you can taste the rainbow. If you leave a comment, you can taste the rainbow.
No, we're gonna send you candy corn because we're
Oh.
seasonal.
Yeah,
Real
no, you can
seasonal.
throw it out.
Exactly.
Ugh. They made all of it in 1912 and it just been sitting in a warehouse.
Sure. Giant coronavirus.
Ah, are you all better now?
I'm better. I already got over it.
That's messed up. So
Stronger, better.
faster,
Wait, wait, excuse me. Fast to even. Some
Alright.
say better. I say stronger.
more better.
But yes, we've finished our Kickstarter, and is there anything else that we're doing?
Well, we're finishing our Kickstarter. It ends on Halloween, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But
but-
this
After that, what are we
Yeah.
doing after that?
we're shipping it out. Shipping it out.
I mean, like
You.
upcoming
I'm building it.
projects.
We're doing what's that thing? We're doing a 3-day live event. You know.
Like a virtual Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Comic-Con.
Yeah, it's
Flint,
called
Michigan Mega Bowl.
Mega Bowl. Mega Bowl.
Light Michigan Mega Bowl.
What's the Mega Bowl? Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl.
Yeah, the live event is coming out the Thanksgiving weekend, so you
The
can
weekend
celebrate
of
Thanksgiving
or the weekend before Thanksgiving? Or
the weekend
after?
of Thanksgiving.
So
So
like
Of.
on Black Friday.
so Black Friday till Sunday.
Through Sunday, yeah.
All right, so maybe I'll bring the live stream to Best Buy where I get mauled by tigers.
Yeah, yeah.
Is Best Buy open? Because I know a lot of stores are not opening.
Well,
this year.
we're gonna have
Oh, I
a
didn't even think about that.
Friday is basically just gonna be everyone in a food coma, and we're just like making noises at each other, just like.
We're like, would you have?
Fine.
Would you,
Uh,
would you have turkey? Yeah. So if you want to sign up for the live event thing, we'll probably have a link in the description,
In
and
the
you
description
can
below.
you can fill out the form, the Google form that I made, and
Hell yeah.
and make an event on Facebook that'll probably be made soon. And
Greg,
yeah,
that guy behind you look like he has a headache.
Who? Who
The guy
does?
behind Greg?
Oh, yeah, he's grabbing his head. He
Oh,
doesn't know
this
what's
guy.
going on.
Yeah.
he's like, I'm a beast king.
I think he's just so excited for breakfast though.
He's hungry. He's hungry for breakfast. That's what.
Breakfast.